Today I'm giving this carving knife a shot to see whether it makes a difference. I've done quite a bit of carving. I've used this Swiss Army knife. I've used this one and many other very similar knives. But I've never made a project with a knife that was specifically made for wood carving. And now it's time to see whether it makes a noticeable difference. The wood I'm using here is Norway spruce. It's probably my favorite at the moment. I've used a lot of aspen before, but I think this one is a bit softer. Right now, what comes to the knife, the only difference that I can feel at the moment is that it feels very different. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing or a neutral thing, but it feels different, mostly because of the handle and the weight of the knife. It feels a lot lighter compared to this one, where the blade actually weighs quite a lot. And it also feels very light compared to the Swiss Army knife, which is quite heavy for its size due to all of these extra tools and metal parts. So that's something that needs a bit of getting used to at least. The material is also different, so that has an effect on how it feels to use this tool. I used to have a knife with a wooden handle when I was a kid. But it's been many years, and during the past a bit over a year, I've gotten very used to these plastic and rubber handles. One thing I'm definitely noticing here is that I have to squeeze the handle quite a bit harder than with my other knives. And I think it has to do with the surface material, but also the thickness. So even compared to this one, the handle is thicker, not this way, but this way it is. And the surface finish is also kind of slippery, which is odd. Maybe it's to avoid getting calluses, but I personally would definitely prefer a shinier, thicker finish instead of whatever oil or varnish that's been used on this one. Right here I'm definitely feeling the length of the blade. It's a bit too much, or I'd say it's noticeably too much for the level of detail that I'd like to make over here. The control is much harder compared to something like this, where I'm able to work with the tip of the blade very easily. Of course it's a bit about what I'm used to, but you also can't expect this kind of control and precision with a blade that's this much longer. I also feel like the blade is a little bit too thick for the detail. The sharpness of both of these blades is very similar, but the thickness makes it so that I end up with cuts that are less clean when I try to make small, precise cuts. They kind of rip the wood a little bit. Whereas with this one, the end result is a bit cleaner. It feels almost impossible to make nice details with the tip of the blade because it's just so far away from the handle where the dominant hand is controlling the blade. So in a way this kind of feels like a medium knife, like something between these two. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, because I use a big knife for rough shaping. It's quick, it's easy, it has a lot of weight on it so that you can just slice the wood real fast with barely any effort. And then a tiny blade for details. So what I'm trying to say is that this is definitely a good knife, but it's such an in-between knife that I don't really know what to use this for. It's not that big for rough shaping, but it's definitely way too big for nice controlled details. Even making basic cuts like sweeping cuts over here feels almost impossible because I can't get close enough over here. The head is gonna be in the way, and then over here I don't have anything as support. The hand is basically just moving freely. Whereas with this one, it's like the easiest cut I ever made. There's definitely cuts that I plan to make that are not gonna happen with this knife. V-cuts feel pretty decent, but even with them, the length of the blade is making things a lot more difficult. And I just broke this one. It's definitely a bit clumsier than what I'm used to. I guess I need to break this one off too. I gotta say I'm actually a little bit disappointed. Before starting the filming, I was expecting to just, make this project easily and then come to the conclusion that the tools don't really matter and that you can make nice things with almost anything. But I'm kind of coming to the opposite conclusion, that there's no way I'm finishing this project with this knife. Maybe if I made a bigger project, it would be slightly easier, but with these kinds of small details, it just didn't work. The agility and the precision just isn't there, and I gotta say that I definitely prefer the tools I've used before, and luckily this isn't mine. I just borrowed it for this video. But that being said, this is definitely not a bad knife. The quality is great. It's just not what I would recommend for carving projects that require making small details, since it's just way harder to control. And this is coming from a guy who's always thought that just work with whatever you have and learn to use those tools, and then later on you can switch to something else if you want. So I'm kind of changing my mind over here, and maybe the lesson is that if something feels natural and easy to handle, it's probably good enough for what you're doing, and sometimes tools that are more specialized might not even be worth it. And that being said, if you're at the point where everything feels kind of difficult, making details while you're carving feels like an impossible task, and you can't control the knife, it might mean that you need more practice, but it also might mean that you need a blade that's more precise. And I would definitely recommend getting something that's somewhere around 3.5, 4 centimeters in length, because that way the blade is easy to control because it's so close to your hand, especially when it comes to the tip of the blade. But hey, if you've used a similar knife to this and you've had some positive experiences with it, please let me know in the comments. I'd also like to know what kind of projects are something that this kind of a medium-sized knife would be good for, and what is the kind of handle for a knife that you guys prefer.